Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming with the video of the PC version of Dark Souls 2. What you're seeing there is a female knight with one of the dark items, wooden shield really. It's not really that powerful. I imagine with upgrades though it would be a pretty potent weapon. Anyway, I'm doing this video to talk about the controls of the PC version of the game. Because there's been a lot of talk of the graphical downgrade and the graphical options that the PC version will have. It's just slightly better than the console version. In some ways it's actually a lot better in texture quality, and I'm impressed with one thing in particular, the depth of field in this game. It's actually pretty well implemented, so kudos to them for that. But the controls, my god, how can you take Dark Souls and do worse than that? At least when it comes to keyboard controls. Here's the thing, Dark Souls only really had problems when it came to the mouse sensitivity. The mouse was way too sensitive, and it took mods to actually fix that to make the game really playable. I managed to get to Anne Orlando in Dark Souls 1 with the default controls, but it was torture. Here they fixed the mouse sensitivity, but they've created new problems. So first off, the jump mechanic. By default it's set to this. And if you have it like this, then it means you need to press a separate button than rolling in order to jump. Besides the fact that you need speed anyway, you have to press a separate button. If you move it to the B the B button, you do it as you did in Dark Souls 1. Besides that, another issue with the keyboard controls is that you don't have the start menu and the cancel button set to the same key as you did in Dark Souls 1. Another issue. Also, when it comes to the Y button, which was set to delete or insert in Dark Souls 1, it's set to various keys depending on the menu you're in, so that's a problem, that's a pain in the ass. Prompts are still for the Xbox 360 controller, and there's a lot of issues with that as well, especially with the Y button. Say for instance, I have a torch, right? Now, with the torch you can light it up at the bonfire. But what's the key to light the torch at the bonfire? You need to toggle, then you can light the torch. The key to toggle is the left Alt button. It took me about 10 minutes to figure this out, going through keys, key by key, until I actually found it. It's quite frustrating, really frustrating to figure it out. On top of that, every single one of the keyboard keys has to be set to something. You can't keep these unbound, which is kind of unfortunate. And then comes the big one, the real problem here. They've added this menu, which is really them thinking that the mouse is a controller and treating it as such, when it's really not a controller, and you shouldn't treat it as a fucking controller. So you've got this menu, which is based on mouse clicks. You've got left click, right click, double left click, double right click, mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down, click mouse wheel, and then shift modifier, control modifier, alt modifier. Now these four, along with this one, so 5 in total, are fine, that's not a problem. Mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down, and shift alt control modifiers, however, are a huge pain in the ass to deal with. For starters, mouse wheel up and down were used in Dark Souls to switch between enemies that you could lock onto. You can't do that anymore. You have to set a separate key using the keyboard to do that. You can't use the mouse wheel up and down, so that's a pain in the bloody ass. I've set it to F in my case. On top of that, it just gets better and better, by the way. Say for instance that you want to use shift, right? You want to use shift to block. So I've set it. Set left hand to shift. The left hand being my shield arm. So I set that to shift. I can block just fine. Problem is, if I press my left mouse button, which is set to my right attack, I can't attack. It just doesn't work. I'm spamming it, doesn't work, because it's a modifier. And because of that, it doesn't work if you press the left mouse button. So that's a bloody pain in the ass. Shift, by the way, is the default key in Dark Souls for blocking. I've also set it to the right mouse button, so if I hold down the right mouse button and then press the attack button, it works just fine, as it did in Dark Souls 1, as you want it to. Also, if I go back to the options menu and switch this, let's switch these two between each other, confirm, and then press, then hold down J, and then attack, it works. So it's only with the modifiers. That's a huge pain in the ass, and these controls are problematic. Instead of being able to easily use the mouse wheel up and down to switch between targets, you have to use a freaking keyboard key. Because, well, obviously problems. There's a bunch of piglets here. They're pretty hard to hit, actually. But yeah, there's just a lot of control options in this game. A lot of rebindable keys, but unnecessarily so, in my opinion. Unnecessarily so. Why do you need to be able to put so many things on the mouse? Do they really not understand how people play games on the mouse and keyboard? I guess not. Let's go with an S. Yeah, these things are really pain in the ass to deal with. And when it comes to the controls, I've spent a lot of time I've spent a lot of time in the game just really having to rebind my keys because a lot of things are messed up. What? It's not even attacking here. What in the world? Oh, yeah. One awesome feature here is that if you completely run out of stamina, you can't attack for a certain period. Okay, that one is dead. Yeah, I'm getting owned by piglets. It's not a fun situation, believe me. Oh, great. There we go. And he drops this, a cracked red eye orbs. Yeah, that's fun. How about to invade someone? Anyway, I'm disappointed. How do you take Dark Souls, which had terrible controls in itself, and then screw it up? Why do we need the different key bindings for canceling actions and being able to enter the star menu? It's terrible, and you can't use the cancel option to exit the star menu. You have to use the star menu button to exit the star menu, so I wouldn't see a conflict there. But you can't set it to the same key, or else it just won't work. It just won't let you. So yeah, there you have it. The problems with Dark Souls. The problem with the Dark Souls PC port. And this is something, these problems will just be skimmed through by a lot of reviewers. PC Gamer skimmed through it. Durante, when he did his review of the PC version, said, oh, it's a perfect PC version. It's not perfect. It has more problems than the original in terms of controls, at least keyboard controls. Mouse controls, yes, they work better. Mouse sensitivity works a lot better than the original Dark Souls. But yeah, keyboards just screw out. And I don't know if this is something that can be resolved with mods. Eric Kane on Forbes has done his has done his usual cocksucking of Dark Souls. I'm sorry, but fanboyism is fanboyism. I don't care who you are. I don't care what magazine you represent. Fanboyism is fanboyism. It's one thing to appreciate the game, and I do appreciate the Dark Souls series, but there's just major issues with this game when it comes to it as a PC port. Major control issues. And some will say, oh, you should just use a controller. Screw off. Just screw off. A lot of people who play on PC use mouse and keyboard. They don't have a controller. The vast majority probably don't have a controller. And a controller, an Xbox controller, is actually freaking expensive. Why should I spend almost as much money as is spent on the game to get the controller to be able to run the game? Also, did it ever occur to people that not all of us are used to using a controller? That not all of us are familiar to using a controller? That we can deal with using a mouse and keyboard a lot better than we can with the controller? Yeah, I haven't played with a controller since I was playing on an NES over 14 years ago, even longer than that. How do you think I would handle a game like Dark Souls on a controller, as opposed to mouse and keyboard, which I've been playing for since I was 6 years old? So the dumb notion that you should just use a controller doesn't really hold water when it comes down to the facts. Many people there are a lot of PC exclusive gamers. Not as many as they were in the past, certainly, but there are still people who are PC exclusive gamers. And they, when they buy a game which has been marketed as having proper PC controls, mouse and keyboard controls, they expect that, and they haven't really delivered on that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Is Dark Souls worth it? I would say, despite my criticism, I'd still say yes, but be prepared for a lot of hassle having to rebind those keys to your liking. Be prepared to be frustrated by the prompts. And remember, the Y button is Alt at the bonfire. In the menu, it's set to N by default. It's a freaking mess. It's just a bloody mess. Just such a wonderful fucking mess that they've created. That's all I want to say. Costin here on Serious Gaming, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And if you like to support the channel, there's a donation link in the description below.